Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Legendary Moments, Conversations Worth Sitting Down For. And today I have across from me a young man that our paths go back. This is not the first introduction. Watching him throughout this journey and what he's been doing and accomplishing, man, he's really setting the bar high, exceeding a lot of expectations, entrepreneurship and things of that nature. Really out here making a name for himself. But his name is Talha Mughal. Welcome. How you doing?
I'm good. Appreciate the respect that you're giving, and thank you for inviting me. I've been great. Just life has been lifing.
Right.
Just trying to stay cool out there. It's not the Virginia heat that we're used to, and I'm sure it's not like that every year. So been great.
It's getting kind of hot, sizzling a little bit. And speaking of hot and sizzling, right? That's a great segue into the type of entrepreneurship that
Right.
you have. I wouldn't say stumbled into, but you have landed on, right?
Right.
You are the franchise owner of not just one, but two, with a third on the way. Of Nash Smash.
Nash Smash, yes sir. Speaking of sizzling and hot, we got the both of them. We got the sizzling burgers and hot fried chicken.
Right.
No, it's been great. It's been pretty good. Like you said yourself, the third one. We're actively doing construction in Virginia Beach. Gonna be one of our biggest locations. Gonna set the standards pretty high for that one.
Right.
So yeah. Most welcome. Come on in and try it out.
Will do. But entrepreneurship, when did that become a thing for you? Was that something you was always driven to, or was that always your plan?
No. So it's never been the plan, right? Getting out of military was stressful. I've enjoyed my service time a lot, and I was very proud of what I was doing. But that was never the plan. Yes, my brother, he's been into business for a long time, and he's done a lot of things. But I don't come from a family business person. Like my father has always been, in the job market, and then same thing for the grandfather. So I don't have anybody who's done something that I'm doing. So no, that was never the plan. It just kind of came along the way. Yeah.
Oh wow, that is very different and unique. So for you, a first generation business owner in your family,
entire, you're talking about uncles, aunts, cousins to cousins. The family of cousins. I have never met anybody who's been in business ever before. We were very focused on the traditional path, which is very straightforward. You go to school, you go to college, you get out of college, you get a degree, you go apply a job, and you do what everybody else does. So this was very scary. This is not us. This is not what we have ever seen before. Wow. So breaking the bubble was the biggest. That was one of those challenges.
And now, for those who don't know, like I said, our path crossed on board the USS Baton. Right. You worked on board. You was a second class, and to know that you could, re-enlist and stay active duty, and deciding to get out. What brought about that decision?
So I had a pretty solid plan of moving to somewhere tropical. I've always loved tropical, something from the movies, from growing up, seeing cartoons and Moana and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, this is where we want to live. I came to talk about Hawaii, San Diego, all of those places, and we're like, okay, if I re-enlist and do this and that, I could go to all of those places and live a life that everybody dreams of. Along the way, about the last year of my enlistment, plans start to shift, and with the kind of economy we had, the demands need you at the end of the day, you got to pay your bills. At the end of the day, you got to come home and make sure you're financially set. Had a few opportunities with the Nash Smash and some other businesses came along. My brother has owned a lot of retail stores in the past, and he was the one who was willing to sell everything just to partner with me and use the specialties that I had learned. And it sounds kind of corny, but the specialties that I had learned from the Navy. So he was willing to bet on me. And he's like, I'll leave my hometown, I'll leave all the businesses behind, and I'll give you whatever you need. Just start something. And that's what we came along, the franchise of Nash Smash, which was still a pretty something you call it incubation process in the business. So it was very it was still incubating, it was still cooking, it was still processing, and we came along and we saw potential, we jumped onto it, and now I think it was a pretty good decision. Pretty satisfied, pretty happy. There's a reason why we're on to our fourth location now. Fourth. And with God's grace, if everything comes along well, we're set to open a fourth one in end of 2026.
2026. Okay. So you said a lot just then. You kind of covered a lot of space, and you brought up the fact that when you came along, Nash Smash was still kind of in its infant stage, incubation stage, right? So that's a good segue into you, right? The origin of you. Where did you start?
Right.
Where did you begin, right? Because you're not from here in the States, right?
Right. So, funny enough, even the founder of Nash Smash was an immigrant like myself.
Okay.
When he proposed the idea of making this one restaurant from Manassas, Virginia, into something bigger, and then we came across him, he had passion, and he not necessarily cracked the code, but he had the recipe that we were looking for. This is something that we've been trying to get into. This is something that's not available in Hampton Roads, nowhere in Chesapeake, Virginia, Newport News, Hampton, nowhere. You can't find stuff like that. And we came across that. It was a golden opportunity for us. We're like, we'll take it off of you. We'll run it. Like, we know what we're doing. Like, I have the expertise from managing people from my past with you, with everybody else that I've learned from. And my brother, who's been in business for a hot minute, he knows the business side of it. So I got the people, he got the business. And quite frankly, those are the two hardest part of the business: your people and your management.
Right.
If you can combine the best of those two, I don't think nothing can defeat you. I don't think there's anything else that could put you down. So that's how we came across Mr. Abbasi. He's a CEO now. And he was a very helpful man. He came along and he trusted us. So
okay. So, and you mentioned that he was an immigrant too. So such as yourself. So where are you from?
Okay, so I was born in I like to say partially raised in Pakistan. The reason why I say partially raised is because I was 15. I was in 9th grade when I moved here. So I still know the roots, the culture, the language, the religion, everything that I brought with me. So I'm from Pakistan, yeah.
Okay, so 15 years old and being in Pakistan from birth to 15 and then coming into the States, like what was that transition like, the culture and the major differences and stuff like that?
It's a shock. It's a shock. It's a big shock, and the biggest thing is the language. Man, you would think English is easy. It's not for somebody who's never heard English before. For somebody who doesn't know how to spell the word English. And there's a funny story that I want to tell you, but it's a little bit long. So
hey, we got time.
We got time. Okay. So funny enough, we were in the plane, right? And it's me, my father, my little sister. I think she was like 8 or 9 at the time. My little sister and my mother and brother, all family. We were all sitting in the plane, and we need water, like to drink water. And mind you, this is a 26-hour flight. 26 hours of being in air. Like, this is a 26-hour flight is no joke. I can sit on this chair for maybe 2-3 hours, but think about 26 hours with, I don't know, over 400 people of,
you kind of
travelers. It gets very cramped. And we need some water, so we called, pushed a little button up there, and hey, like, we need something. Now, mind you, none of us know how to speak English. Nobody knows how to speak English. We don't know how to ask for water. We know what we want. We don't know how to ask for it. So, you know, the air host, the air hostess comes over and she goes, hey, you know, whatever. I don't remember what she said. I didn't speak a lick of English at the time. And, you know, I look at my father, he looks at me, and we're just going back and forth like, are you going to ask for it? You going to ask for it? You know, we put you in school for this. Come on, show up.
Show up.
It's time to pay off. And then I look at him and I look at her and, you know, I just did this. And I'm a little 15, 14-year-old kid.
Right. Want a shot.
You know, in America, you're sitting at a bar and you like, that means you want a shot.
Yeah.
And man, it's so embarrassing. Now I joke about it, but at the moment it was so embarrassing. And that the air hostess thinks that we're asking for liquor. So she looks at my father and she says something like, "Are you sure this kid wants liquor?" And anyway, we somehow found out somebody was drinking water. We pointed at them. We're like, "That's what we want." Like in our language, we're like, "Yo, like this is what we want." She figures out one way or the other, we want water, comes back, comes back, bring a cup of water, and now my father wants water. Now, how do I ask for another one?
Right.
I did the same thing. And she looks at us like crazy again, like it's a little kid, like doing these weird hand signs. But anyway, that worked out. We both got waters at the end of the day.
Right.
But it's just funny how you when you talk about immigrants, when you talk about people coming over, you kind of have to understand that these are the people that can't even get water for themselves. Like they can't feed themselves because they don't know the language. Right. And language plays the biggest part in any country, anywhere you go. You know, I travel all over South America. I travel. I do like to travel a lot, and the language barrier comes along, but English is that one language that takes over anything.
Yeah, it's kind of universal.
It's kind of universal language. Wherever you go, somebody speaks even a little bit of it. But when you're coming from that one third world country, it's hard. It's hard.
So you mentioned that the families coming over to the States and knowing English. What was the reason? Like, what brought you over to the States? What brought the family over?
The failing economy. A lot of these small countries, they have no ways to afford the basic lifestyle. Like so the basic lifestyle, you're talking about going out to eat at a restaurant or going to a theme park or water park. No, that's not the basic lifestyle back home. This is, we're talking about being able to eat 2 meals a day. So when people can't see those things being affordable, that's what makes them think like, yo, maybe there's somebody or somewhere else we can travel and have a better lifestyle. So this is what was the reason, like being able to afford the basic living, the basic lifestyle. And we travel, we came here, and then, things have been just fine since then. When
you came over to the States, where did you relocate to?
Virginia. Okay. But I was in Northern Virginia. I grew up in Alexandria, went to high school, a little bit of college over there. But I stayed there for the most part, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you graduated in Northern Virginia. So what was that like, going to school with Americans and not knowing that much English? So what was that first year of school like?
So lucky for us, the town that we moved into, which is a city of Alexandria, it's a very diverse town. When you go to school, you see a lot of foreigners. They put you in that category. Not sure if you're familiar. ESL classes, ESL level, English as a secondary language classes, where you interact with a lot of people that are not from your country, neither from the United States of America. So they don't speak both languages. The only option that's left is learn from each other what the English language looks like. So when you grew up with a lot of foreigners, you kind of like find your ways, and you pick and choose like what accent you want to adopt, or what like which direction you want to go to.
Oh, okay. Somewhere along the line, military came into play, right?
Yeah. So since the very young age, right? I don't like to take favors from anybody, right? If somebody gives me a favor, I like to give it back times 4, times 10. So I had this mentality of paying back. Like anybody here is paying the rent, the taxes, the bills, the meals out of obligation. But what is it that you're doing to give back to the country, give back to the community as a voluntarily? So my mindset from a very young age, I think I was 16 when I made up my mind. I didn't join until I was 19. From the age of 16, I knew that this is something that I wanted to do. This is the country that brought in all of my family. My parents have a set living. A few of my uncles and aunts, they came over at the same time, and they have very good living standards. So I kind of had the idea of paying the rent, like paying my dues. So this is something that I wanted to do, a short amount of service to give back to the country, to the community. And this is why even when I got out, I was pretty satisfied. I was pretty okay with leaving the military because back in my mind, I knew that I had given back something to the community.
Got you. I mean, because in some cultures and things like that, everyone is required to kind of serve, right? And here in the States, that's not the case.
That's not the case.
But it's very interesting that you said that since the age of 16, you knew then for those 3 years that you was going to serve to kind of pay back, what they was able to do. So from the time you graduated to the time you enlisted, because you enlisted at 19?
19, yep.
So that small, window, what were you doing during that time?
So that was my high school. I obviously when you're a foreigner, you have a lot more challenges based off of language. So I didn't graduate until the end of my 18 years of age. I graduated at 18. Next thing you know, sign me in.
Wow.
How do I enlist?
Just that fast?
The minute I got out of high school, hey, I need to do something. Like put me on a job, do something, and that's how I enlisted at 19.
So you may mention earlier that they had y'all in the ESL class, English second language class, and how soon was it before they integrated you in with the regular students and stuff like that?
So typically, you don't make it to the regular English speaking students up until you're junior. I was pretty okay and comfortable with speaking language because the one thing that we were missing was the confidence of speaking. Even back home, we have English classes. We were going to English medium schools where they were teaching us the language, but we just didn't have the confidence to speak on it. The minute you start seeing people, the minute you start to realize, this is the only option for you to get that water on the plane. It was about my sophomore when I started, attending classes with normal, regular speaking students amongst, some of the ones that were also part of ESO.
And so when you came over, what did your parents do, being that, they didn't know the language too much either?
Right. So this is where the odd jobs comes in, right? And this is why I've always been a big supporter of our immigration system, where people bring in a lot of value to our economy. And my parents, they were doing odd jobs. They were doing either delivery jobs or fast food restaurants or things of similar nature. Yeah.
Okay, got you. And was your parents supportive in your decision to join the military?
It's hard. A lot of back home, a lot of immigrants look at military as part of do or die kind of thing. Like, you're either gonna make it out or you don't. There's a high chance that you're not gonna make it out. And that's a very certain case working on the flight deck. I'm sure you're familiar, you've seen things, you've done things where you had to make a decision. So when things like that happen, the parents are a little hesitant, but they're never against it, because being grateful takes over how dangerous these jobs are. Okay. Yeah, so they had a hard time with it, but once I graduated boot camp, that joy takes out the hesitance out of them.
Okay. So now going to boot camp, and now that's more people you're around on a constant basis, coming over to the States. Even though you're going to school, you graduated high school, you got that interaction with Americans and things like that, but you're still going home, you're comfortable. Right. You can always dial it back to what you know. And now leaving, joining the military, even though you're giving back, it's I'm pretty sure it was very, very possibly uncomfortable.
It is, and I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people that have never left home, people that have never left when to go live per se in dorms or college towns.
Right.
A lot of people that it's because at the end of the day, yes, we're going to school, we're working with a lot of foreigners or a lot of people that are not similar to your culture. You at the end of the day, you get to go home to your own place of comfort, but the minute you go to boot camp, you lose that comfort. There's no such thing as comfort. And when you see that, it's very uncomfortable, because for one, you don't have another language that you communicate in. And for two, now you got people from all over America, including Puerto Rico. You got all of these people that are put in this one room, and now you're adopting Florida versus Texas versus Alabama versus Virginia, Maryland, right? So everybody comes from different backgrounds, and when I witnessed that, it was a little rough. It was rough.
So with you going into boot camp, and I'm pretty sure it was difficult enough coming into the States and just learning the lingo and the way that people up in Northern Virginia speak, Now again, like you said before, you have the South, you have California and things like that. What was that transition like?
First of all, never understood Georgia. Never understood Georgia.
Okay.
I had an RDC. I just didn't know why he spoke the way he did. Talked to a few more people that spoke the same way, and they're from the same region. And that's why the mentality of accent came in my mind. I was like, okay, there's certain parts of the country where you can't understand, so drop it. Just yes sir, no sir, yes chief, no chief, and walk away.
Gotcha. Okay. It's gonna be a language barrier.
Whatever they say, they're right. Whatever they say, you got to do it, and you do it, and you go find out somewhere else. Like, hey, what did he say? What did she say?
Right.
So yes, there are accent that makes a lot of difference for foreigners, people that are from per se South part of America. They have foreigners have a hard time to understand that, and I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for a population of people, not just myself, because I've noticed those differences. The minute you see a foreigner going from he doesn't comprehend, like he doesn't know what you're saying. So yes, that makes a big difference. Different part of the region, it makes it hard or easier for you to understand. Yeah.
Okay. And you kind of lucked up, right? Being that you grew up, your high school graduated and everything from Virginia. You happened to get orders back to Virginia.
To Virginia, yeah.
Right. So how happy that you wanted to, or was you happy?
No. I definitely was because it's already shocking enough for you to transition from your culture of origin to something very different, which is Navy. But then when you get to find out that you're staying close to the family, so you still get to go home for your holidays and enjoy all of those things. Yes, I was happy. It was very good. I think I got lucky with staying in Virginia. But I was very grateful to be where I am geographically.
Gotcha. And I'm pretty sure that made your parents and everybody kind of happy too in regards to that. So how often was you able to get back and forth?
Yeah, so at first, you're so hot-headed, you're so hot-blooded, you're going back every month, every 2 weeks, every 96, every 72, you're back home. But then it comes to a point where you're like, okay, I got to worry about my life, I got to worry about the career, and just grow into the area where I'm at. So you start making new friends, you start making maybe going out with your partner or going out, you know, with newer people. So I want to say about 2 to 3 years is a solid timeline where you know, going back home mentality goes down a lot. And that's when I bought a house here, and then, you know, start growing in this area, and and I have no regrets, I have no complaints. I enjoy living in Virginia Beach. I enjoy living in the 757 area because if I had an option, I wouldn't go back, because you know, next thing you know, you're paying close to $1 million for a little shed.
Yeah, it's kind of expensive up there, right?
So this is home. This is what I tell people. This is where I'm from. This is where I live. This is where I stay. And I do have longer plans when it comes to business and professional side of my life. So this is home. Yeah.
Okay. Like you may mention earlier, it literally took you about 2 years or so before you said, "Hey, I need to kind of stop going home so much and kind of focusing here in this area and making it home."
Right. So 2 years was a good time for me to realize that, yeah, like I can't keep doing that. Save them lead days, save them, you know, save the money, the fuel trip, the whatever the case might be, and just start investing in yourself. And that's when I kind of knew at about 3-4 year mark that, you know, I wanted to get out and do something for myself. And obviously doing something for yourself comes with a lot of commitment, a lot of savings, a lot of financial burdens. And that's when, you know, I got big on saving, you know, that goes a long way.
Gotcha. Okay, so I remember the conversations you and I used to have in the office and everything. At one point, you really was considering going officer and things like that. So, but what kind of halted those desires?
It was fascinating at the moment. It was very motivating because, you know, I used to be in the the primary flight control. So, you know, you're surrounded by officers. You see the lifestyle. You kind of find out like, okay, they're making a lot more money. They're making a lot more. They have more responsibilities. They're in charge of more people. That was the biggest motivation. And this is where the Navy mentality or any military mentality comes in from. When you're in charge of more people, that also means you're more responsible for a lot of these people. So when you start to realize like, hey, I can see myself in those shoes, I wanted to do that at some point. The reason why that stopped is was the entrepreneurship side of myself. Like I knew that I could do something more than this. Something I don't necessarily want to say bigger than this because that's not the case. I just wanted to be, you know, not on the schedule. I wanted to be not the person to clock in, clock out. Been against that mentality for a very long time. So only way for me to do that was to get out of military and just hustle, just find ways to do something for myself.
Okay, so before you got out of the military, the entrepreneurship spirit was kind of already in you.
Back on my mind, yes, absolutely.
And I heard you mention earlier, although you the first generation franchise owner, you made mention about entrepreneurship and your brother. Right. First of all, did he come over with the family? I'm assuming he did. He came over with the family when everyone moved from Pakistan, right?
Yes. So he wasn't married at the time or anything. So when we all came, and then when he started even doing his own business in retail businesses, he didn't have a family. But now, you know, he has a beautiful son.
He's your older brother?
He's an older brother. He's 2 years older than I am.
Okay, so just 2 years, and you're 27.
I'm 27. He's 29.
Man, that's great.
Yeah, so he had to sacrifice his retail businesses and then start investing in necessarily myself and the population that's here, because it's just way too competitive back home. You know, it's like.
And so when you say back home,
I'm talking about Virginia, Northern Virginia, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you guys came over from Pakistan, and you know the whole family, your brother, you know, 2 years older than you, currently you're 27, he's 29, but you know back then, you joined the military. He did not, obviously. is that when he started opening up his own businesses and things like that?
No, so he had, and this is why I'm a firm believer of mentorship in the Navy, right? He had great mentors. He had mentors that he, not necessarily were his bosses or people that he was employed for, but people that were just leading him into the right direction. People that were kind of like putting a brighter mindset upon him. So he worked for a few people that were great businessmen, that were bringing twice somebody's annual salary in a week. So these people were pretty up there. And then when he was around that kind of environment, and that's why I'm a firm believer, environment makes a big difference. So when he was in that environment, he started jumping onto it. He started catching up. So I think about third to 4 years of me being in the Navy when he started his first business, and by the time I got out, he was pretty seasoned in what he was doing. Some equity was built, some partnerships were solid, and then when I decided to get out, he was like, you know what, I'm ready to give that up, and then just bet on you, just put my money on in this area. And I think it was a pretty good decision. I'm sure he's very happy with what I'm doing here, with him, for him, by him. So all of the decisions that we've made, either we learn from it or we basically no regrets.
Yeah. Okay, I understand that, but wow. So, because I'm trying to wrap my head around the whole thing, right? So, you was in for about 5 years.
5 years active, yeah.
Yeah. So you said about 3 to 4 years in, that's when he actually started his own entrepreneurship.
Right.
So when he graduated high school, a few years before you, what did he do?
He was actually a maintenance tech for a motel business, or I think it's a hotel business, and that's where he got a lot of his expertise. So right now, it makes a lot of sense when I tell you what we do. So what we do now is I am mostly a management operation guy for the businesses that we own, and he's the contractor guy that builds the business, that makes sure that everything stays streamlined when it comes to technology, when it comes to maintenance and material, when it comes to the equipment breaking down. That's when he comes in and he plays the part. Even he's the main contractor for our construction sites that are happening right now. He builds the businesses, I run them. He goes over, builds the business, I go over, run them.
So y'all got your own lanes.
Yeah, he knows not to mess with the operations and management, the people part of it. And then if I see a light or a tile crooked, I can't say nothing about it because he's a contractor. He knows what he's doing, right? Must be a reason to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're pretty understood. We're pretty firm, solid on knowing our boundaries. Like we don't cross those. No.
Got you. And did y'all speak about this going into it, or it's kind of happened organically?
No, not at all. Not at all. He didn't know what I had the capacities of, and I didn't know what he had learned all of those years while I was gone. So not until when we started our first project in 2020, end of 2024 or mid 24 August. And then he was like, yo, I know how to do these tiles. I know how to do this electric. I know how to do all of this. Like, I've done this before, past 3 years, all those years you've been gone. Like, this is what I've been doing. So let's give it a try. So the very first business that we built, it was messy hands. It was all dirty hands. Like, he's into it. He's building. He's a plumber. He's an electrician. He's doing this and that. So that's where his confidence and his experience came in handy.
Okay, got you. Now we kind of jumped the gun a little bit because we kind of left off with you in the military, being in the military and things like that, right? So and you contemplating being an officer and stuff. So what was the actual deciding factor? I don't know if you necessarily answered that question in regards to the deciding factor that's just like, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself. And although this military was something me giving back, but at the same time, one could become very comfortable, right? You know you're going to get that check on the 1st and the 15th. me working with you and everything, you was no stranger to hard work. I'm pretty sure advancement would have been no problem for you, but I'm going to go a different direction.
So coming from certain cultures, right? Your per se, your holidays matter a lot. Time spending with family matters a lot, and those are some of the challenging things that comes with the commitment of being in the military, with being in the Navy. Time away from home was a big thing. Not necessarily that I couldn't do it. I think it's the fact that I didn't want to keep doing it. The minute that I got the idea of, okay, I've paid my dues, I've paid my rent. This is the time for me to go do something else for myself. Because you have to remember, there's wants and needs, right? Mm-hmm. I did what I needed to do. Now I think I could step back and do something for something that I've been wanting to do. Mm-hmm. That's when the realization hit, like, I haven't been home for this amount of holidays. I haven't been home for the child of my nephew. I haven't been home for my, mom and dad and sister and brother's birthday. And for some people that matters a lot. And I was one of those people that took that a little bit to the heart. And I was like, and I come from a Muslim background. Our culture and our holidays, those things kind of builds the character for us. And when I wasn't being part of that, that circle, I had to make a decision, and my decision was to go back to learn where I came from.
Okay. Now, it's interesting that you mentioned that, right? Because being an entrepreneur, people talk about work-life balance and things like that, right? And to get a couple of franchises off the ground and new franchises at that, right? They wasn't well established, like you said before.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that required a lot of hours and really being focused into that.
So, let me think about that for a second, because these are very deep topics. These are very deep conversations, and it could sometimes offend a lot of people that are firm on that work-life balance mentality. The problem is there's no such thing as the work-life balance when you're building something, when you're taking over a business that's still in the incubation process, when you're taking over when you're biting bigger than you can chew, right? Because right off the military, we didn't have the financial background. We didn't have those financials strong enough for us to dive into something that we did. So you have to sacrifice that. There's no such thing as work-life balance.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because if you stay in my mentality, if I would have stayed stuck in that work-life balance cycle, I would always have something to fall back onto. I would always have something to rely on. Like, hey, if this doesn't work out, my family got me, my parents got me. Or I could survive off of somebody else's financials. So when you making out of there the only option, you cut off everything as far as work-life balance. You work 16 hours a day. You sometimes don't go to sleep at night. When you start to see them inspections failed, or your license is getting kicked back, the city doesn't want to approve you, you don't sleep. When you don't sleep, you go on your laptop and you start working at the middle of the night. So for somebody who's trying to keep that balance, I think it's not impossible, but it's very hard. Maintaining the work-life balance, and it's still getting to the successful point of that entrepreneurship. I haven't seen it in my experience, no.
So let me ask you this question: was there a time frame where you thought that maybe you made the wrong decision?
Yes, a lot of times. The self-doubts, it's a real feeling, it's a real emotion that comes out a lot. It comes and hits you late at night. That's the worst thing about it, because then you can't go to sleep. When you start to see the rent is due in next 15-20 days, but your business still not open, so I'm gonna have to pay the $10,000 out of pocket. Yes, I did. I did think about this a lot. I did doubt a lot. on the decisions that I was making, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you just, up and leave, because now you're knees deep into something and you got nothing to fall back on. So that's kind of like a piggyback on what I said earlier. When you have nothing to fall back on, you can't back out. You're already too deep into this.
So what were some of the things that made you continue to press forward, to drive forward?
The expectations. I think this is the biggest thing. I have never talked about this before with anybody. The expectations of family, the expectations of your friends and peers, that builds a lot of pressure. Mm-hmm. What pressure does, it doesn't let you fall back. So when people say like, hey, I don't think you got this, bro. Like you're biting way bigger than you can chew. Mm-hmm. You don't got that in you. Like, this is the type of stuff, like, you gotta wait till you're 35. You gotta wait till you're 40. You gotta wait till you're making at least $120,000, $150,000 a month. A month, not a year. And, when people start to tell you these things, that pressure builds up. Like, am I gonna prove myself right? Or am I gonna prove those voices right? So when you start to think about it this way. Actually, prime example. We talked about family support from boot camp. Now, my parents have always been on board, not by choice, but they've been on board. But of course, there's distant family that comes in and tell you, like, this is military, right? Like, this is not no high school track race. This is not no, this is not no like middle school game or anything like that. Like, this is military. This is real. Like, you go there and if you fail, it's an embarrassment. So, are you sure you want to do this? Like, I don't think you got this in you. Those are the motivations that I think that what pushes me to make it happen.
Okay, like that part I definitely get, because that noise, it does things to different people, right? Like you said before, that self-doubt, hearing yourself, like, do I got this? And then some people thrive off the fact of proving the doubters wrong. Like, that
Right.
just serves for fuel. That really consumes them. And the more people say they can't do it, the more in their mind it's like, now I have to do it.
Right. So some people take criticism as I believe in two different ways, right? They could either discourage from it, or they could
Fuel them.
or they could fuel it. Like, you could use that as your motivation to prove it wrong. Okay, well, just because you said that, I'm gonna make sure I do it. Right. Yeah. So that's a very strong mentality. Or they could be like, yeah, you might be right. I don't got that. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna just back off. Like, leave that alone. Tell you what. So there is about 34 locations open nationwide, Australia, England, and all over the States. There's about 34 locations. There's about 56 under construction, and I don't even know how many are signed off. I happen to be the youngest one. I happen to be the only 27-year-old franchise owner for 4 of those locations that is successfully and comfortably owning and operating. Mm-hmm. So this is why when I talk to somebody, I tell them, like, don't let the age be the factor. Mm-hmm. Don't let the mentality be the factor. Don't, like, just because you're 24 or 25, I started this at 25, just because you're at one of those 20s and teens, that doesn't make a difference. Mm-hmm. You know your worth, so bet on yourself. So
let me ask you this right here, being so young, and being at the fact that this is a franchise, you may be, the pioneers in the Hampton Roads area, the first of, but there's others that have done this. How much, if any, did other franchise owners play a role in helping you become successful? That network of other Nash and Smash owners.
So like I was bringing that up before, we didn't have a network, right? Mm-hmm. Network helps a lot. People of similar businesses help a lot. Mm-hmm. I didn't have that in my family. I didn't have that in my circle, my family or friends, nobody, right? I wish there was a network, but unfortunately we didn't have it. So mm-hmm. whatever we had to do, we had to create our system. Mm-hmm. And this is where I may not talk about this very often to people that have not been in the military, but here I think you would understand the importance of OPRs, operating, procedures.
Right.
The importance of checklists. Like you go up in the tower, you go up in the private flight, you got a checklist. Nope. I don't know if there's a checklist for any other of those 34 locations. Every single of my locations is a checklist. You come in the morning, you know exactly what you need to do. You sign off, you put the date on it, I go and check it. OPR. I have OPRs for design per location. Like if you go to Hampton, you got a certain OPR that you need to follow. You go to Norfolk, you go to Virginia Beach, you got a certain OPRs that standards that you need to follow. So this is what I stole or per se adopted from the Navy, from the military mindset. Like if you give somebody a checklist with their signature and date on it, what's there to miss?
Yeah, you make them accountable.
Yeah, that's the way that Navy help them do their job.
Right.
So this is why we didn't have a network. We didn't have a system. Like I said, this was a very incubating process for this brand. So we were supposed to be the ones to set standards for the future owners. Okay. So and that's what I'm doing.
So I understand that internally within your family there was no network. There was no one who did this before. Your brother, he had some businesses prior to collaborating with you and going on this venture, and being that in the Nash Smash network, there really wasn't one.
Right.
People that's actually buying into the franchise now and opening up stores. Do you make yourself available to those individuals?
Yes, absolutely. So this is what I like to do, right? A lot of people come in and they talk about owning a business. They not necessarily Nash and Smash. They talk about business, like, hey, how do we do business? I got $300,000-$500,000 in my bank account. I want to do business. I don't necessarily tell them like, hey, this is the only way. Yes, this is a great way of doing business, but food might not be it. I personally believe that people will never stop eating. So this is something that's not going out of business. Right. Food will always be there. Hunger will always be there. So I do welcome a lot of people, and we used to do these classes at one of the veteran centers where people would come in and they would look for their options. Like, hey, I'm getting out of military. Is it even a good option? Am I going to be able to find a job? Like, what do I do? Okay, your job is not the only option. This is something else that you could do. So yes, I welcome a lot of people. I'm mostly available on the phone or in person. I like to be on my feet. So either Norfolk or Hampton, Nash and Smash. Just come and approach me. It's simple as that. Like, hey, I heard about you, or I know who you are. Like, hey, can we talk? Absolutely, we can talk. Right. Let's go sit down and talk.
So you may mention the fact that being in the military, operating procedures is one of the things that kind of help you and you adapt it, right? What are some other things from your military experience that has made you successful at being a franchise owner?
Appreciating people. Appreciating your people. I think that was one of the factors that we lack a lot in the military. And when I came in, when I think I was just a E3 or maybe an E4 at the time, I noticed like when you put responsibilities on people, and then when you value their work, their outcome, their input, people value. They feel responsible. They get the sense of responsibility that I'm being trusted, and I try to bring that to my team. Like, I've now I don't know necessarily how much difference that makes, but I call all my employees my colleagues. If I happen to be at one of the locations and an issue occur, I always go to the manager, whoever's the supervisor on duty. Like, hey man, you're in charge. Like, go ahead and take care of that. So that gives them a sense of responsibility. So I do something of some sort of that kind of stuff with my employees. Plus just like little things, OPRs and checklists, the system of accountability that that's a big thing in the Navy. You learn that from doing maintenance. You learn that from doing your checklist for any job that you do, any equipment that you operate. So those accountability techniques, I bring that into my entrepreneurship lifestyle, and that helps a lot. It goes a long way.
So it seems like what you've been able to adopt is that attitude of ownership, right?
Yes.
You know, we preach that and preach that, you know, being a part of active duty, you know, you live here. This is, ain't no one going to save us but us if something happens,
right,
and everything like that. So by you providing your employees, kind of helping them and finding ways to help them become successful or be successful at what they do,
right,
via the checklist, and again, giving them that ownership. I guess what you're saying
right,
is just like, hey, this is our, you know, restaurant. This is our franchise.
Right, just our home. I mean, this is what puts the food on your table. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, from some of the leaders like yourself, I've learned that respect is reciprocated. Respect only, you know, it's like karma. Somebody would only respect you if they feel respected in the environment. So it only comes back at the quantity that you provide them, like you give them. So and I got lucky with the people that I worked with, and the respect was always there. Respect your culture, your beliefs, your religion, respect everything that you do. And I have a lot of employees who don't believe in touching poultry or touching, you know, the beef. So I make sure that I put them in environments where they don't have to do those things, where they don't have to come across, you know, touching poultry, seafood, or beef. And people notice those things. Employees, your colleagues, your people that are running the show, they notice these things. And this is why I have employees that have been with me for since the day we opened. That was 2 years ago. I mean, how many times did you see that at the fast food restaurant? You don't. It doesn't happen a lot. Our turnover rate is very low. Like, people come in and they stay with us for a very long time.
And you made mention in the fact that there's some people and they don't touch certain, you know, meat and poultry and beef and things of that nature. And I noticed that that's something, and you being Muslim faith and
right,
background, the way in which you cook your food and things like that, right? Explain on that, or expound on that.
Yeah, so we don't consume nor touch nor get in contact with anything that's driven or made out of pork. And you know, FSA duty, everybody has done that. So I don't necessarily remember the names, but I had worked with a lot of respectful leaders who I had brought that attention to, like, hey, this is something that I can't do. And they're like, oh my God, you know, sorry about that, you know, you don't have to ever come across that, blah blah blah. And every time I implement that in my businesses, I think about those people. Like, yo, they took care of me, so it's my due diligence. Like, it's my duty to take care of the people that are working for me. So pork is something that we don't touch. Anything that's consumed from the animal, pig. Of course, different cultures prohibits or restrict different kind of values, right? And we make sure that we keep them away from those things.
Right, and specifically, and correct me if I'm wrong, but halal type of foods, right?
Right, halal, yeah. So this is what we serve, right? Like, we don't given the importance to my own culture and religion, we don't serve any pork items. A lot of people come in and like, oh, what's up with the bacon? Yeah, turkey bacon. Tastes better. And I've noticed the awareness. A lot of people come in and they know what halal means, and they don't even ask for things that we're not supposed to sell. So the awareness is there. Yeah. All our product is certified halal, and people enjoy that. They respect that. They appreciate that.
Yeah, that's something very different and unique in regards to fast food and things like that. Like, it kind of blew my mind when I, you know, was doing my research and everything, and you know,
the way things are processed and handled is in a different matter. Yeah. Right.
You was able to adapt your, you know, culture into what you do.
Right, and implement it into business. Yeah, it was very important for me. If this is something that I can't do, I can't make somebody else do it either.
Gotcha. Okay, and when did, because you made mention about your staff, your employees, and things of that nature, when did you kind of realize that you're not just employing people, like you are creating a family culture with what I'm doing here?
So I have a couple of employees with children, and they might be the single father or single mother, right? And when I start to notice that this is what puts food on their table, this is where I spend 40 hours of their week. This is the place that they're thankful for, because they get to enjoy holidays. They get to, celebrate their cultural holidays and stuff like that. That's when I was like, this is important for people. This is a very new realization that I came to, right? And I believe that as a boss, they don't work for me, I work for them.
Did the military kind of help you adopt
yes, so the leading by example mentality comes in from there, right? Taking care of your people. I have never came across a leader who was not taking care of their sailors. If I had to stay away from that. So Navy is pretty firm on I think chiefs and officers to take care of their sailors. And when I started to notice that, like, their first job, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you might know this better, as a chief, you are evaluated based off of how you're taking care of your people versus taking care of yourself or your career. That might be the case. Like they determine, like, you're the person who's
to a degree. It's kind of
whose
like,
sailors are squared away, whose sailors are not getting in trouble.
Successful.
Right. So that what makes you successful. So this is where
their success is your success.
Exactly. So this is where the mentality came in from. I work for them as much as they work for me. So if I can't show up on 100, their performance will automatically decrease, because that's how my boss is. If my boss don't care, I don't care. Right. If he don't take care of me, I don't take care of his business. So the respect and the level of care reciprocates, and this comes from the Navy. Yeah, of course, it has a huge part in it.
So being so young, 27 years old, right? Your brother just 2 years older than you. What type of challenges did that create? Meaning that, were you being taken as serious as other entrepreneurs coming up with you? Granted, it might not have been a Nash Smash they was trying to open up, but I'm trying to start my business. I see this other person, they're trying to start their business as well. Hey, we're not being treated the same, or were you being treated the same?
No, absolutely not. It's
you say,
let me tell you something, man. We are diving into, like you said, our fourth location, right? Not a single loan was approved. Not a single penny of loan from any bank was ever approved. And the biggest factor is the age, financial background, mainly the financial background, because when you're at that age, you're not considered so responsible. You can't give $500,000 or $250,000 to a 25-year-old, like, here, go do your business, right? Because the sense of responsibility is low. Yeah, and I believe in that. I work with a lot of
necklaces.
I believe in that, but the equal whatever that they feed you through the system is not real. We're very deep into these investments, and believe it, not a single loan was approved. Age is a big challenge, and that's why, back to when we were talking about the challenges, is people look at you differently. Like, I want to say about 85% of my employees are older than I am. So that's a big number. About 80 to 85% of my employees are older than I am. So
when you first started, was that kind of intimidating a little bit? Like you're interviewing someone that got more, work experience than you do.
yeah, so this video might be the reason why everybody find out how old I am. I don't tell people my age anymore because it sets a different kind of perception into people's minds. Like, oh, he's just 25, he's just 26, just a 27-year-old, kid or fella who's being a businessman. It plays a major role. A lot of people, you have to suppress that side of your life. Like, if you're that young, when you're sitting in a room with a bunch of 40, 41, 50-year-old entrepreneurs or businessmen, a bunch of white collars, you have to be very careful with your words. You have to be very careful with what comes out of your mouth, because that could automatically be the assumption that it's because of your age, not because of where you come from, not because of your experiences, not because of your financial issues. It could be because of your age. So age makes a big difference. Yeah,
you have to show a different level of maturity at all times.
Exactly.
And with that being said, being that you and your brother, like, you had no blueprint. I mean, granted, your brother had these businesses, but to your statements, he's more the tech guy. He's the more operational, hands-on, Mr. Fix It. Where did that know-it-all, where did that come from with you guys?
I want to say along the way. Most of it is along the way, because so this is a good thing and a bad thing. The more challenges that comes across your way, the more you get to learn. But it also brings a lot of stress. So let's say you can't hire a architect, which we are just now doing after 2.5 years of business. We never hired an architect. We're paper pencil. Like, we're drawing everything with hand. So you learn a lot. You go to the city 4 times a week, like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? Help me, give me the checklist, give me, like, how do I get this permit, this license? So when you, the more challenges that comes along your way, which was the case for us, financially challenged, challenged by age, maturity, experience, all of those things, you get to learn a lot also. We have never hired a marketing team. All of our marketing is done from this phone right here. We have never hired a professional contractor. That's my brother. He's leading the team. He's leading the labor, the employees. So I feel like the experience comes from challenges along the way.
Now, forgive me if I sound crazy when asking this question, but when you're buying into a franchise, I would think that some of that stuff is provided, right? Because something's got to be mirrored.
Yes. So with the franchise, the good thing about partnering with a franchise that people assume is that you get the blueprint. But like I said, this was an incubation. There was no blueprint. So we were the very first people that stepped into the territory of Nash Smash. Like, it's an idea, let's make it happen. This is an incubation, let's accelerate it. So that's what we did. We came in and we started setting the standards, and we basically pretty much just follow along the guidance and the experience that we're gaining through the struggles that we were going through. But no, they're typical in a traditional franchise world. Yes, there's a blueprint, but then you're also looking at spending about $1.5-2 million.
Okay.
And for a young 24-year-old, that's not the case, with no loans approved.
So, and this is like your second, third time saying that, right? So, if they're looking at the both of you and your ages, and they're saying, no, we can't take that risk, we cannot do that, how are these stores being acquired and opened?
So it was one by one. It was some of the finances were obviously gained from my brother's previous businesses. Okay. And the time that I served in the military, I was very cautious of my spending. So over the span of 3-4 years, I was able to save enough to opened up the first one, and the first one was a hit. I don't know if you remember Norfolk or Hampton. We used to have lines out the door. Did well enough that we had the courage to do another one. Norfolk, that's a college town. Kids are crazy for this kind of food.
Yeah.
Same thing, lines out the door, and then that's when we're like, okay, we're good at it. This is something we enjoy. We're good at it. I could do this, with my eyes closed. Why not just stick to it? The third, the fourth, that's how it comes along, one by one.
So what was it like opening that first store? What was there a ribbon cutting? Like, how did that go?
No, it was. Oh man, this is embarrassing. I never tell this to anybody. So the first opening was unexpected. We got all the licenses, the permits, and we were like, so now what do we do? Like, how do we open the restaurant? So we had one of the guys. He came over from a franchise and was like, what, just unlock the door, see what happens. Mind you, we were so prepping the poultry, the meat, all that stuff, lettuce, tomatoes, vegetables, produce all of those things. We're still in the process of the prep work. The first opening was not no dramatic. It was no like ribbon cutting, no nothing. So we're like, just test it out. We unlocked the door. We opened the door. I don't know if you've noticed, there's blind curtains that are typically on the windows of a new business, so people can't really like interfere. So we took the curtains off. Next thing you know, it happened to be a Saturday night. The plaza was full. People found out and were like, oh, holy shit. Like, yo, like the game on. The line's out the door. We had a little bit of training. And since then, let me tell you, man, the next 45 days, I work 16 hours a day. It's straight for 45 to 50 days. I only went home, shower, sleep, come right back on. And that's a good thing. This is what builds character, the pressure. You see customers lines out the door, you never forget that moment.
Is that kind of give you that momentum and that jolt of energy that you need to, when you're absolutely dead tired, but it's just like, yo, we really doing this, and they love
dopamine. It's a dopamine,
dopamine.
Dopamine, that's what kicks in, and when you, it's always the first customer. I've had this 3 times with me so far. It's always the first customer. You never forget their face. The first person that walks in that door when you open the door is always that one person that gives you the joy. Like, it's real. All the blood, sweat, tears, like it's over. We got them licenses. We got them permits. We got them inspections passed. The health is happy. The city, the state, everybody's happy. Now this is our time to make money. So when that first transaction hits, you're like, game on.
So how easy has it become in just duplicating, I guess, your own blueprint? Like you said, like this was a very small franchise. It is not in every state in America. It's constantly growing, but you came in, like you keep was saying, the incubation stage, and you're now, I guess you're the blueprint. Like I asked you earlier, like you've made yourself available to other franchise owners. So how easier has it become, or does every opening bring forth its own different challenges that you didn't foresee?
Right. So the biggest part of it is setting such high standards that nobody can mold you into their standards, right? We set standards for the franchise where, believe it or not, we get a lot of people from North Carolina, South Carolina, when they're getting ready to open their store, they come and train with us. So the CEO, we have this common understanding of him trusting our leadership and our standards that we have set. So we have, our Hampton has becoming one of those stores where we train most of the people down south. So anybody who's going to Georgia, North, South Carolina, Florida, they're going to come and train at Hampton. And then I give them about 48 to 36 to 48 hours of training, and then they do the rest with my crew, with my employees. So this is the benefit of setting standards. This is the benefit of putting everything on paper, the checklist, the OPRs that we're talking about, because they know that we got it right. Like they know that we have built certain expectations from our crew, that those are unbreakable. So
Gotcha.
we're getting into the phase of training other store owners. We're getting into the phase of training their employees, giving them management training, giving them ownership trainings, giving them operation trainings. So they come and do that with me, and I train them for those things. Yeah.
So let me ask you this question: do you think your age became a benefit in this aspect of it? Meaning that, hey, again, you're not 40, 50 years old. This is not something that my family has done in the past. I'm just kind of, making it up as I go along, using my personal life experiences from the military and his, and, location. It helps. You're right there, kind of
Right.
Hampton and ODU and things like that.
Right. So I've never been 40, 45 before, right? So I can't speak for them. But what I like to think is that the adaptation becomes easier. Okay. You can put a 21, 22-year-old in any situation, and that person will likely to absorb and adapt the environment faster than anybody who's in their 40s and 50s. So, like when I was in the Navy, I like to think that I had it easy, given the fact that I was a person who's very okay with adapting new cultures, new language, new traditions and customs. So yes and no, because yes, people take you for granted, given the fact that you're only 24, 25, 27 years old, and no, because you know more than your age, because you have been put in so many different circumstances, the boot camp, the training, the deployments, the leadership, the good, the bad, all of those. So you learn from all of those aspects, and then you combine and you put in the pot and you stir it up, and that's when your personality comes out.
Gotcha. And earlier you may mention that you spoke to someone, the Nash Smash that was in Northern Virginia, right in the Arlington area. You didn't take over that one. You just kind of went in, observed, and then you branched into your own down here, right?
Right. So how it kind of worked out is that I was back home in the military. I was back home for, I guess it was a 96 or holiday stand down. And my brother was like, yo, this new spot opened up. Let's go try it out. I was like, okay, let's go try it out. So the CEO had his cart sitting up at the counter. So we gave him a call and picked up the cart. We gave him a call. He's like, yo, we really like the food, blah, blah, blah. Let's meet up. Came to find out he's one of the persons that we've known, and one of the acquaintances from the past. Like, oh, we've known you from this and that. And then he started talking about, I'm launching this brand and I'm looking for more territories, more geographically challenged areas, which is considered Hampton Roads, because across the tunnel and not a lot of population from there travels here. Mm-hmm. And we're like, okay, we'll give it a try. Let's sign for one. Let's just see how it works out. So no, we didn't take over his very first branch or location. We were like, let us sign somewhere all the way up over there. And that's also challenging, because now when you have questions, when you want to learn or train something, you can't just travel 3 hours here and there. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to think about it before you make that trip. So yes, it's beneficial, but there's also a withdrawal. Like I got to think about it, mm-hmm. because I'm all the way sitting over here and operating business that he expects me to operate. Mm-hmm. So yes, it's a little challenging, but they're still running whatever they're running over there, and we do our own thing. We have the 7 cities signed up, and we'll get to 7 soon.
Gotcha. I mean, wow. So that's very, very. That story literally just like, hey, I like how this burger tastes. Here's the number. Let's just call and see what happens. And now, again, 2 fully function, 3rd one on the way, contract and everything for the 4th, like that. Right.
I mean, it's you kind of have to look at what you're good at, right? Mm-hmm. I know I'm not good at technology. I know I'm not good at I'm not the best at numbers. I know I'm definitely not good at handyman work, and that's when your team comes in. You know, your people, your partners come in. You're like, hey, I'm good at this. What are you good at? Okay, I'm good at that. What are you good at? Okay, let's partner up and do something together.
Yeah.
That's just how it kind of played out. One to the second to the third, and now fourth. Yeah.
So the future, right? Not just Nash Smash, but your entrepreneurship journey. Do you see yourself getting into other type of business ventures, or just like, hey, this keeps me busy, this keeps my hands full, and it's about helping and developing this franchise grow?
So, it doesn't necessarily stop in Nash Smash, right?
Okay.
We want to grow more into it, but at the same time out of it, right? Our plan is to get into real estate now, where we're buying commercial properties and it's either operating our own businesses into those properties or just simply leasing them out. So that it's been a work in progress for a minute, because you could be good at one thing, right? But at some point it starts to become a routine, and routine is the reason why I'm not in the Navy today. Routine is something that becomes boring. It becomes a little boring, and that's when I stop to feel mentally challenged. If I don't wake up and I'm like panicked to get somewhere, or if I'm like, I don't know what the day is gonna look like at 5-6 o'clock, where I'm gonna be at, it's that your mental stimulation starts to go down, right? And this is why I want to get into something new. We do have a few plans to grow into this area, because there's a lot of potential here. So real estate is going to be our next move.
Okay, so I mean, you brought up military, and we haven't been speaking military a whole lot, but again, that is where our paths cross. And for the record, you know, you was a great sailor and everything like that. That's why to see you do this is somewhat surprising, because again, your exit in the military was 23, correct?
My exit was 24.
24.
The early 24 age, yeah.
Yeah, because it was on deployment. Like I sent you back off of deployment, right? You know
Thanks to
what I mean?
that, because I got a lot of opportunities off of that.
And here it is, you know, 2 years later, and it is just amazing to me. We're on soon to be store number 4. Store number 3 is opening soon. Like that part of it, I was here to witness it. It is still hard to fathom. Like how much do sometimes you surprise yourself with your ability to lock in, stay dedicated to it, not quit, prove the doubters wrong, and let that fuel you? Like how surprised are you with yourself sometimes?
It's a constant challenge, right? I'm almost positive that any business that a businessman or entrepreneur that gets into, it's a new day every day, right? So that challenge builds up the dopamine. That challenge is what builds up the mental stimulation. That challenge is what keeps you on your toes. And the minute there's no more challenges, you start to like become comfortable. Like, you know, I gotta go do the same checks, do the same, you know, audits, do the same inspections every day. And this is why I said what I said is I know myself enough that I need something new constantly. I can't let the routine be part of my life, right? Or my life be part of the routine. And this is why now we're jumping into something completely new, something that's scary, something that's, you know, very overwhelming, which is commercial real estate. And once we get into that, I know that it's going to bring so many more challenges, and I'll get back into the mental state where I'm like constantly spiraling, like, oh, what's next? Like, how do I do this? How do I do that? So the constant learning is what keeps me motivated. But then, you know, there's still voices from the back, like, oh, I don't think you should be doing this. You're too young for this, or this may not be for you. So that's another push from the people. So I still appreciate that. So keep doubting. That's a good fuel to the fire.
And I don't even know if this even needs to be a question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway, I guess. Had you stayed in the military, where do you think you would be right now in your career-wise? I mean, for the record, you was an AB. You departed, you separated as an ABH2. So,
I think I was on a pretty good path. I was under a lot of good mentorship, and one of the most solid ones was yourself. I worked directly for you, like a little over 2 years, and
so a lot.
A lot. I learned a lot. I think if I would have stayed on the same track with the positive mentorship, I would have been applying for the like put in some kind of officer package. I do like to fly a lot. That's why the fact that I travel a lot. And something with the aviation field, something with the pilot route, that's where I would have probably end up if I had a chance. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of pilots that I worked for.
I know one in particular. Kind of know one. Y'all are kind of similar. Y'all are kind of similar. By the time this episode dropped, his episode would have already dropped. And again, y'all have some very similarities.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think. I think I would have made that far.
Yeah, you someone would have doubted you, and you would have been like, okay,
that's more fuel to the fire.
Right. So again, I've definitely enjoyed this conversation, and it is so much more we could unpack, But
yeah,
an entrepreneur such as yourself, you got places to go and things to do, right? But again, thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely.
One thing I do want to say, right, for that young sailor that's out there, that's kind of been on the fence. Right? Should I bet on myself and do this, open this, take a chance, or sign these papers and stay Navy? And they watching this episode and they listening to you and the success that you have. What advice would you give them to be as successful as you've been?
Two things. Listen to that gut feeling. Everybody has that. Some people suppress it. Some people let it speak out loud. Listen to that gut feeling. Like if something tells you that this is not your place, then that's probably not your place. The second thing is there's a lot of leadership in the Navy. Just listen. Listen to them. How many times did you tell me that I was making the wrong move when I was getting out? Never. I have never heard you telling me that I was gonna be making the wrong move, right? You supported that. You supported the decision that I was getting out. Same thing with other chiefs at the time and officers at the time. They never said that I was better off in the Navy and don't do what I was doing. So that's the reason why I said listen to your leadership, because a lot of people can tell if you're gonna make it out there or not. So if somebody's telling you like, yo, this is your only way in, like this is your only way of making it, probably it is. If somebody, but if you know that you're better than that, or you can do more than this, just listen to your gut feeling and do it. So two things are very important, right? Pick the right mentorship, pick the right leadership, listen to that, and your feeling. Like if you know you're doing something right, you're probably doing something right, and if you know you're doing something wrong, there's most definitely you're wrong.
Gotcha. Okay, it's a lot. It's a lot in that answer. It's a lot in that answer. And hey, like you said, if anything, they can pull up at a Nash Smash.
Oh, absolutely. So that's
they
another.
Can see you.
Yeah. That's another thing. I do meet a lot of sailors from the LHD 5 baton, and people think that I just work there. and I don't walk around with a chip on my shoulder. You've seen me in the kitchen before, matter of fact. You've seen me cooking, flipping burgers, and all sorts of things, right? They approach me, and then we have conversations, and I tell them, like, this is also an option. You know, if you're thinking about getting out, just come and talk to me. This doesn't have to be the only way. There's so many other things you could do. Real estate, commercial, residential. You could do fast food. You know, AI is doing a lot of business these days. Trading is booming. So all of those are the options on the table. So let's talk, because within the past, a little over 2 years, I've done like different research. I've done a lot of different things and talked to a lot of entrepreneurs, not necessarily in the food business. They're all over the place. The HVAC, the plumbing, the electric, and just come and approach. I'm a very, very approachable person, very respectful person. So just come and talk to me, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and the main thing is something that I'm constantly hearing and being echoed in a lot of your answers is not being afraid to work. You know, again, like you said, hey, 16 hours for the first 50-some days. This is what you have to do to make it work, and believing in yourself. You know, but believing in yourself and figuring it out, doing the research and things like that. So,
right. Also, you know, a lot of people come across these voices, I want to say, that are very new, of building men into something that they're not, right? Like, I've noticed people approaching me in the gyms. I've seen people approaching me in, you know, conferences where they're like, oh, you know, you become part of this group, and then we're gonna make sure that you're very successful. You know, this is a monthly membership.
Gotcha.
This is, you know, you pay this amount of money, and we make sure you're straight. No, there's no such thing. You know, if somebody genuinely wants to help you, they don't charge you to help you. They don't, like, you don't have to pay to gain knowledge. Like, I do that for free. Like, I talk to a lot of people, and I tell them the reality of it, not what you want to hear, but what you have to hear, because you still got time to make the decision. Like, you could still either, you know, re-enlist or get out and test the waters, because I'll tell you how rough it is. Those 16 hours are rough. Those, you know, sleepless nights are tough, you know. That the work-life balance is not such a thing. Like, there's no such thing as work-life balance, because you're either working or you're living, until you get to a point where you're, you know, the work is happening and you're living. We got a long way to go for that, buddy. Yeah. just focus on work for now.
I just understood. So again, thank you. I can't wait for the opening of the third building in Virginia Beach. Matter of fact, I might swing through this weekend and grab me a burger.
Oh,
and everything.
please.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, most welcome.
Again, I can't thank you enough. Any other thing you'd like to add before we close?
No, I just really appreciate the respect of you bringing me in, and, you know, letting my voice be heard. Because, like I said, you didn't think twice about the age factor. You didn't think twice about being, you know, advantage or this and that. So I appreciate you bringing me in and letting, you know, just having this conversation is a pleasure. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, again, man, I'm super proud of you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Beyond words, man. Wishes you continued success to you and your brother, and the sky's the limit.
Absolutely. Yeah, next venture is always there.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's it for Legendary Moments. Until next time, peace.
Whew, that was good. I've been